Okay, this is question 4 of the preparation for the control test on uh, September 20th, next Monday. Let's just get started. Okay, now to do this, we haven't started this in our class yet, but I'll tell you, you have to know two things before you start. There's some new ideas in this question, and these are called identities. There's two identities you have to know. One of them is, instead of tangent x, you can just replace tangent x with sine x over cos x. Now, you could try this with an ABC right-angled triangle, and you'd see b over a equals b over c if A is adjacent and B is opposite, and then A over C, and it cancels, hey, and it just works every time. And by the same technique, by going opposite over hypotenuse, B over C, A over C, if you square sine and square cosine with any angle, sine squared plus cos squared, it always equals 1. So these two identities, you actually have to memorize. You have to know them. They're not given in the matric exam, too, and they're very important. If you see a tan x, you can rub it out and put sine over cosine. If you see sine squared plus cos squared added together, it just equals 1. Or if you see 1 minus cos squared, you can rub it out and put sine squared. Those are the big ideas. Anyways, let's try this thing. I'm going to show you this first part, even how it works then. Instead of tan x, you replace it with sine over cos x. You use that identity and they give you a mark. Now the cos x divided by cos x cancels. You just get sine x over sine x, and that equals 1. Well, that's the identity part all done. It won't be really hard in this control test because we just started it. So that's the kind of thing you have to be able to do. Now, this is another reference angle problem. Now, when you see this, the cosine of minus x, what you can do is think of x as just being an acute angle, but you know that minus, so pretend it's 45 degrees. Minus x means you bend clockwise. You bend this way. This is where we are. This is where we are when you see the cosine of minus x. Think you're in the fourth quadrant. Just bend down there. Hey, cosine's positive there. So the cosine of minus x is cos x. That's worth a mark, just doing that. What if you saw 360 plus x? Well, go to 360, and then adding x, just pretend x is 45 degrees and bend up this direction, because adding x, you bend up this way. Well, that's the first quadrant. Well, in the first quadrant, it's just cosine x. It's just positive, just like the fourth quadrant. So this is just cos x times cos x. That's cos squared x. Well, we've got 1 minus cos squared here. But what's that? Well, if I subtract cos squared from both sides of this, I get 1 minus cos squared is equal to sine squared. So maybe that's a little tricky, especially because the ideas are quite new. But if you want to figure out any kind of thing where you see an x here, just pretend it's 45 degrees and go in that right direction. Like say you had 180 degrees plus x. All you do is go to 180 degrees. There you are at 180, and keep going in the counterclockwise. That's the quadrant you're in. So the cosine of 180 plus x is negative cos x. The tangent of 180 plus x would be positive because just positive tan x. So you just write down x, but you figure out the sine by just going to where it is. If you saw something like 360 minus x, that'd be right here. Here's 360 minus x. It'd be right in this quadrant. Okay, so I hope that helps, and good luck in the control test.